Hello, welcome. I'm Udar Pratap Singh. You're joining us on NewsX World. Let's take a quick look at the headlines we have for you this hour. The death toll from Myanmar's 7.7 magnitude earthquake has risen to 2,719, with expectations it will surpass 3,000. Thousands are injured and hundreds remain missing. Military leader Min Aung Hlaing calls for donations and criticizes building standards. China says that Taiwan independence is doomed to fail as it launches a surprise military drill around the self-governed island. Taiwan's presidential office calls China a troublemaker following the military action. Russian President Vladimir Putin has announced he expects to meet Chinese President Xi Jinping in Moscow this May for World War II anniversary events. He has made the remarks during talks with Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi, who's in Moscow for strategic discussions. Xi and Putin have met over 40 times in the past decade, strengthening ties on key issues like Taiwan, Ukraine, and their shared rivalry with the US. Russian President Vladimir Putin has signed a decree ordering at least 160,000 men to be drafted into the army amid ceasefire discussions with the US. Ukraine's Air Force, meanwhile, has reported Russian strikes along the front line. The Trump administration has released a list of hundreds of foreign policies and regulations that it regards as trade barriers. This comes ahead of an expected announcement on Wednesday where Trump will implement sweeping reciprocal tariffs. America's key trading partners are set to respond with proposed trade deals or tariffs of their own. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office has said he has reversed the decision to appoint Navy Chief Eli Sharwit as the new head of Shin Bet. Meanwhile, Israel reports that they have intercepted a rocket from Gaza into their territory with no injuries reported. Iran say they will have to acquire nuclear weapons if they are attacked by the United States. It comes after US President Donald Trump said he would consider bombing Iran if they didn't agree to a nuclear deal. French far-right leader Marine Le Pen refutes embezzlement conviction, vows to fight for 2027 presidential bid despite court ruling barring her from office for 5 years. US President Donald Trump and his advisor Elon Musk have both backed Le Pen. Myanmar has held a minute of silence today in tribute to victims of a catastrophic earthquake that has killed more than 2,719 people and is expected to cross 3,000. With more than 4,521 injured and approximately 441 individuals still missing, this is what Minister Aung Hlaing has said. Four days after the 7.7 magnitude earthquake struck, many people in Myanmar are still sleeping outdoors, either unable to return to ruined homes or afraid of further aftershocks. The epicenter was near Mandalay, causing widespread destruction and overwhelming local hospitals with injured victims. In response, international aid has begun to arrive. China has sent an 82-person rescue team and pledged $13.8 million in humanitarian assistance. while Russia has dispatched a rescue team equipped with a mobile hospital. Additionally, India has deployed the National Disaster Response Force to assist in relief efforts. The situation remains dire as rescue operations continue and the international community mobilizes to provide further support. Major aid contributors include China, India, US, Vietnam, South Korea, Thailand, Russia, Japan, Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, United Kingdom, New Zealand, Philippines, and Taiwan. Now, before we dive into the discussion, let me quickly take you through some of the satellite images that show the state of Myanmar before the disaster and after the earthquake. Well, here's now a satellite picture of the Mahamuni Pagoda from the 23rd of March, just a few days, in fact, before the earthquake struck. And let's now show you a picture of that very pagoda after the earthquake struck. You can see the kind of considerable damage that has been meted out to the structure after the quake. Many such structures are damaged, as we will show you shortly. Now let's show you a picture of the Inva Bridge in Myanmar. This is how it looked like before the earthquake struck. Here is how badly it's been hit and struck by the earthquake. You can see there in those before and after pictures the damage, the considerable amount of damage that has been done to this bridge. Connectivity literally cut off as a result of this earthquake there. Now let's show you a picture of some buildings in the neighborhood in Mandalay before the earthquake. This is how they looked like before the earthquake. And now let's show you how that residential neighborhood looked like after the quake struck. So this is before. Now let's show you how it looked like after. You can see how many of the buildings have in fact turned to ruins. There you can see, been reduced to dust. Most of the buildings turned completely to ruins. All right, now let's show you a satellite image picture of the Shikhana Pagoda. Let's show you a picture before the earthquake struck on the 23rd of March. And here is a satellite image of the quick hit structure now. So this is how it of course looked like after the earthquake struck, obviously impacting it quite considerably. Now let's show you a picture of the Ananda Pagoda and Pindaya as well before the deadly earthquake struck Myanmar. This is what the state of Ananda Pagoda and Pindaya are now. Let's quickly flip to the visuals and show you how things look like now. And there you can see again a lot of damage to the structure. Before photos and soon you'll see after, and you can see how there is considerable damage across the structure, not just to the base, not just to the top of the structure, but to the surrounding. The entire parameter of the structure has been considerably damaged. Joining us now live is Saras Gupta, committee member, Sanatan Dharm Swayam Sevak Sangh. He's joining us live from Yangon in Myanmar. Thank you very much for speaking with us on NewsX World. What is now the situation on ground? We believe finally aid and humanitarian assistance is reaching Myanmar.
Many countries are coming and sending their troops to Myanmar, and they are still on the way. Some are still on the way, some are reached over there, and but that is not enough because the situation is very bad. The massive earthquakes destroyed the local infrastructure very badly. So we need more troops from the international community.
Yes, absolutely. Saras Gupta, also, as far as, of course, now the rescue work is concerned, how much is happening still on ground? Is there still a glimmer of hope that there will be more survivors? Or is the fear that the casualty number will continue to rise? Because there are many parts which are still cut off, from communication, isn't it?
Yeah, is it right? Because there is no electricity over in Mandalay and Sagaing townships, because all the power grid system are failed. That's why the internet facility are also not there. But all the NGOs and all the social organizations, international groups are doing their best as they can and reaching out most people from the debris or destructive buildings. So they are doing their best. But the massive earthquakes are uh, uh, destroy completely ruined. So it take time to overcome out all this situation.
Absolutely. Also, Saras Gupta, the fear, of course, is that there are many people who are, of course, going to be further starving because of lack of amenities, lack of basic essentials, lack of food, lack of water. How important is it to get that to them as soon as possible? Also, then there will be fear of diseases as well breaking out.
The lack of food and lack of medicines, is it right? Is it very shortage of over there? But we are living young own, so there is no shortage of anything. So people are providing from all these necessary, foods and medicines from here to Mandalay or Zagai. So as much as capable, people are sending. I mean, most NGOs and troops are sending on daily basis. Especially water are very shortage over there and medicines. So lack of.
What about the military strikes? Are those continuing as well?
They are continuing. Yeah, they are doing. The military, the system, all the government system also doing their best.
No, are the military strikes continuing? Because of course Myanmar is in a state of civil war. We all know that. There were military strikes as well happening. Even a few days after the earthquake struck. Is that also something that continues?
But right now, I don't hear about anything. I mean, they stopped till yesterday or day before, but right now they are not doing anything. Before they are stacking, but now they allowed to go to Zagain. Before they block their roads you cannot go to Zagain, but now they are allowed to go to there.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Thank you very much, Saras Gupta, for speaking with NewsX World and joining us there. Let me move on now. Russian strikes in southern Ukraine have left 45,000 residents in Kherson without power. Ukrainian Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiga has confirmed that the attack targeted a power facility. This comes despite Kremlin claiming that it's not going to attack Ukrainian energy infrastructure. So those, of course, some breaking inputs there. Meanwhile, further news coming in. Far-right leader Marine Le Pen has been found guilty of embezzlement by a French court. She was handed a 5-year ban on running for office. This will effectively block her from running for the 2027 presidential race with immediate effect. She was also handed down a 4-year prison sentence. Including Le Pen, 24 other party officials from a national rally party were also convicted over a scheme where they took advantage of European Parliament expenses to employ assistants who were actually working for her own party. Le Pen has called the verdict a political decision and vowed to appeal. She also said she would not quit politics and promised to keep fighting. Meanwhile, Justice Minister for France has sent out a statement saying Le Pen's appeal hearing should be organized within a most reasonable time frame. Let's listen in to what Marine Le Pen had to say.
Et tous ceux qui n'ont que l'état de droit à la bouche sont en général ceux qui sont les premiers à chercher à violer cet état de droit. Si ce sont les dirigeants politiques ou des magistrats qui décident qui peut se présenter et pour qui les Français peuvent voter, alors nous ne sommes plus dans une démocratie. Voilà. Nous allons donc nous battre. Tous les moyens de droit seront analysés et utilisés.
Now, this verdict has stunned her supporters across the country. Far-right leaders from across Europe have backed her following the conviction, including Hungary's Viktor Orban and Dutch politician Geert Wilders, who condemned the court's decision. Donald Trump also weighed in, comparing Le Pen's case to his own legal battles. Elon Musk has also criticized the French court, calling it abuse. Musk warned that it would backfire and compared it to the legal cases against Trump. Let's hear, in fact, Donald Trump's comments.
That's a big deal. That's a very big deal. I know all about it, and a lot of people thought she wasn't going to be convicted of anything, and I don't know if it means conviction, but she was banned for running for 5 years, and she's the leading candidate. That sounds like this country. That sounds very much like...
With Le Pen out, her party may turn to 29-year-old Jordan Bardella as a candidate. Bardella is currently the president of the National Rally Party. Le Pen says she will fight back, but for now her path to the presidency seems closed. Fabrice Leggeri, member of the European Parliament and former director of European Board Agency, is joining us live from France. Thank you very much for speaking with us. Let me begin by asking you about how big a blow this verdict is for Marine Le Pen's political future.
Well, thank you for the invitation. This court decision in France is in fact a political decision that was very clear from what the judge says, that she didn't want that Marine Le Pen can be a candidate for the presidential election. So there is also a lack of rule of law, because now the court decided that there is a ban on being a candidate. So it's ineligibility which has been decided, and there is no possibility to appeal. So this is a lack of rule of law. And there is also one more element. The judge said that because Marine Le Pen wanted to use her right of defense, this is considered as the proof that she would reiterate the facts, and therefore she is considered as ineligible. So there are a lot of elements showing that this is not a neutral decision made by judges, but this is politically driven to prevent Marine Le Pen from being the candidate for the presidential election in 2027.
Okay, let me ask you then, Fabrice Leggeri, what her legal options are available to her. Is there a glimmer of hope still for her?
Well, there is a narrow path. So Marine Le Pen will appeal the decision, but she has to wait for the judge to decide, or let's say the court to decide when the appeal will be handled. So the Minister of Justice in France said that he asked the judges to process the appeal as soon as possible. But that shows that, in fact, the judges are not accountable for what they are doing. Being independent is fine, but they are not neutral, and now they are not accountable. And if Marine Le Pen cannot be the candidate for the presidential election in 2027, this cannot be repaired, because then it will be too late. So let's imagine that the appeal, that after the appeal, the court decides that in fact it is not proportionate, that Marine Le Pen is ineligible, but this would be too late if the appeal court decides in 2 or 3 years from now.
Okay, let me ask you then, at the end of the day, you're calling it a political decision. Marine Le Pen has called it a political one as well. Interestingly, US President Donald Trump has weighed his opinion on it, saying that, he also believes it's been done politically. He also, interestingly, drew a parallel to what happened with him as well, when he relinquished presidency. Does that mean then that her party will get political sympathy because of this? Do you see her political party's fortunes rising as a result of this decision? Do you believe it will generate sympathy amongst the people of France for her party?
Well, so far we have already 37% support in the polls. So 37% of the French voters said that they would like to elect Marine Le Pen as the president. In the first round, 37% it's huge. So what we think is that we need to, of course, continue fighting politically in order to make it clear that this is the will of the French people and the French voters, that she can be a candidate. So there is a trend in Europe and obviously in several Western countries, and the United States was in the same situation. There is a trend.
Okay.
That in fact candidates expressing the people's voice are prevented from being candidates. And this is what happened to Donald Trump. The system, the establishment tried to prevent him from being re-elected as president of the United States.
Right.
And what we see is that in France, the judges want to prevent her from being the president's candidate.
Okay, Fabrice Leggeri, thank you very much for joining us with your perspective on this story. Now, thousands have rallied in South Africa demanding justice for an 8-year-old girl allegedly raped at school last year. The case gained attention after a mother shared details in a podcast. Police are investigating with 3 suspects identified, including school staff. Meanwhile, more breaking developments coming in. The United Kingdom Security Minister Dan Jarvis has announced Russia will be placed at the highest level of the Foreign Influence Registration Scheme. The scheme, set to take effect on the 1st of July, aims to counter covert foreign influence. Jarvis has warned Russia poses an acute threat to UK security, citing espionage, cyber attacks and past hostile actions. Countries around the world are bracing for a new wave of US tariffs after President Donald Trump has declared that all countries would be targeted. The announcement has sent ripples through global markets, raising concerns about the impact on international trade. At the center of the trade dispute is China, which holds the largest trade surplus with the US, amounting to a staggering $295.4 billion. Other key players in this imbalance include Vietnam, European Union, Mexico, Ireland, Germany, Taiwan, Japan, South Korea, Canada, India, Thailand, Italy, Switzerland and Malaysia. The European Union, meanwhile, has issued a strong warning, stating that it holds a lot of cards and is prepared to retaliate if necessary. In a separate development, Germany's outgoing Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock, is speaking during a visit to Kyiv, has urged the US not to be swayed by Russian President Vladimir Putin's delay tactics in ceasefire negotiations. The impact has been severe, with the top 10 global corporations seeing a 13.2% decline in market value, dropping to $18.64 trillion by the end of March, the sharpest fall since June 2022. Amidst these economic headwinds, Argentina's Foreign Minister Gerardo Huerta is set to meet US Secretary of State Marco Rubio to secure a trade deal with Washington. Critical move for Argentina, which exports grains, lithium and energy to the US, with bilateral trade valued between $13 billion and $16 billion. We are also going to be looking at how top officials, including President Donald Trump, the President of the European Commission, the President of Nippon Yusen and Governor Michel Bullock, as they address the tariff war. In fact, let's play out their latest reactions on this big story.
Nice by comparison to what they were. The numbers will be lower than what they've been charging us, and in some cases maybe substantially lower, but we sort of have a world obligation perhaps. But we're going to be very nice. Relatively speaking, we're going to be very kind.
Europe has not started this confrontation. We do not necessarily want to retaliate, but if it is necessary, we have a strong plan to retaliate and we will use it.
その関税払ったかというと、最終的には結局アメリカの国民が払うことになるっていうようなね、そういうところがあるはずなので、そこは我々としてもすごく注意したいところですね。という人たちがいて、そこから我々がチャーターイン、ストレートにお客様が負担するというわけではないんだけども、最終的にはお客様の負担でそれが翻ってその実際のものの流れをこう少なくしてしまうっていう、そこが一番懸念の部分だと思います。
A trade war with escalating tariffs and reciprocal tariffs is going to slow down growth in world trade. And Australia, as a small open economy, has benefited massively from open trade. So it's not good for us, a world trading system that is fragmenting. That's not good for us.
Daniel Boardman, senior correspondent for the National Telegraph, is joining us live from Toronto, Canada. Daniel, all eyes, of course, on the US President and the big decision that is expected on the 2nd of April. First, let's talk about Canada's perspective, since you're based there. The war is already escalated between Canada and US on the issue of tariffs. Do you expect further, escalation once these new tariffs are announced? Do you expect further stringent tariffs on Canada?
It's very hard to predict because this is, I think, round 3 of tariffs are coming. Tariffs are getting delayed. There are no tariffs. There's going to be super tariffs. There's going to be less tariffs. So we really don't know. It's sort of Schrodinger's tariffs right now in Canada. Will they come April 2nd? Maybe. Again, we have an election April 28th. So, you know, to tariff a government that's, you know, not even technically elected before Canada gets involved, like, no one really knows what's going on and why Donald Trump is launching this trade war. I mean, this is the global battle of economic illiteracy. Which country can be the most economically illiterate seems to be the challenge that everyone is taking on. It's nice in Canada that we have now figured out that tariffs are like a tax, and taxes are paid by people, and taxes actually make things more expensive. This is something that the mainstream Canadian public didn't understand and actively denied for the last 10 years, that taxes on goods make goods increase in price. So this is the level of economic literacy that was pertaining from the Liberal Party. Now we've discovered in Canada, you see in the European Union and Australia, that free trade is good, right? Libertarian and free economic trade is good and actually increases prosperity. So we have that on a global sense, which is a nice development. But it seems, especially in Canada, the responses to the tariffs are more centralized power and more government control over the economy, which we just realized was bad when Donald Trump does it, but now it is good when the Liberals do it. So the problem is, especially in Canada, is the Liberal Party doesn't want the tariffs, but wants the trade war to demagogue against the Americans. So the responses are all nonsensical and economically illiterate.
Okay, now let's talk about the rest of the world. Do we expect these reciprocal tariffs to kick in from day one itself, or do you believe there will still be some window given by the US to negotiate to various countries for a few more days at least? Also, because not every country, of course, has managed to ink the trade deal that the US would want them to. Also, global markets are all set to be affected by this too.
Yeah, that's why I don't think it will go through, because if you start a massive global trade war, the markets will crash, and Donald Trump likes being the president that makes the economy strong. This is what made, this is how Trump won his second term, is contrasting his first term against Joe Biden, which was, do you want Trump or Joe Biden? And, the thing is, okay, people will take the mean tweets and the crazy tweets if the gas is cheap, right? Essentially, the feeling in America was, okay, if the economy is good, if we can buy a home, if we don't have to worry about food and groceries and people's paychecks increases and prices go down, and the average American can just live their life better, then Trump is good. But a global trade war will increase the price on literally everything and send inflation and markets into chaos. So I don't expect any lasting global trade wars. And again, like, you can't work out global trades with every country in the world on a 1-month timer. So all of this is nonsensical. All of this is economically illiterate across the board. This is the epitome of self-inflicted wounds coming from the Trump administration. So if again, you can't really bet on what Trump's going to do, but if I were to put money on in poly market or whatever, I would bet on another delay or these tariffs not lasting to the end of April, so to speak. I think there will be a summer tariff threat for so world leaders can give Donald Trump a handshake deal and then get this over. But again, no one really knows what to expect, because this is all economically illiterate, and but I think Trump thinks it's going to increase market productivity, but when it tanks the markets, Trump then reacts and will do something. So I don't know. This looks like watching someone stick their finger in an electrical outlet.
All right, Daniel Boardman, thank you very much for joining us with your perspective on that big story. Let's move on now. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has reversed his decision to appoint former Navy Commander Vice Admiral Eli Shavit as the new head of the Shin Bet Security Service. Netanyahu's office announced the decision today, stating that after further consideration, he would be exploring other candidates for the position. Shavit's appointment was announced just a day earlier. This has sparked controversy after reports surfaced that he had participated in 2023 protest against Netanyahu's judicial overhaul and had previously criticized former U.S. President Donald Trump's policies. U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham, who's a close Trump ally, also voiced strong opposition to Shavit's selection. Netanyahu had previously moved to dismiss Shin Bet chief Ronen Bar and had already faced a legal pushback, with Israel's Supreme Court freezing the decision until the 8th of April. Bar's removal also triggered daily protests in Jerusalem, further intensifying political tensions. Meanwhile, fresh demonstrations against Netanyahu continue in Jerusalem, with protesters demanding his resignation. Now, this unrest follows months of political turmoil over judicial reforms and growing opposition to the government's policies as well. And that's all we have time for on this broadcast. We will continue to bring you more news and updates from around the world. Stay tuned.